Go ahead, call this meeting order. Ask the clerk to do roll call.
Councilmember Budge.
I'm here.
Councilmember Terry.
Here.
Councilmember Gatewood.
Here.
Vice Mayor Pulapati is absent this evening, and Mayor Sander is also absent this evening.
But we are here.
But three of you are here, yes, and we have a quorum.
Excellent. All right. Can we go ahead and have the meeting and playback scheduled?
Yes, the meeting of the Rancho Cordova City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will replay on Thursday, January 18th at 9 a.m. and Friday, January 19th at 6 p.m. The meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/MetroCable14. A DVD copy can also be ordered from the City Clerk's Department, and a webcast of this meeting will also be available within 48 hours of adjournment of this meeting on the website.
All right, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and invite my friend Rachel to go ahead and stand up and give her our Pledge of Allegiance. So go ahead and come to the front.
Zillner?
Yes, you.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we will be greeted by Isabel, who will be doing our invocation. Isabel will be doing our invocation.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for our mayor, the city council, and leaders at every level in our city. Please give our leaders guidance, wisdom, and support. Help our leaders engage in meaningful discussion, allow them to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Please bless the people who have been called to lead the community in which we live and work and play. Give them grace to bring truth, justice, and stability to our region. Give them the power to do what is right and to rule in fairness. May our community be known for its justice. Help them as leaders to not ask first, how do we fix this, but what do we need to learn? Have them ask themselves, how might we need to change, and to whom do we need to listen to? As our leaders meet today, please give them the patience to listen to one another and the ability to persevere through obstacles and the humility to serve our community with kindness and compassion for all. Remind them that as leaders, they are called to respect and protect all people of our community, all families, all children, the elderly, the poor, those who are hungry, those who have no homes, those who are alone, and those who are forgotten. Grant them the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good and true. May they speak out when it is time to speak out, and listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen. May they always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all that we hold sacred and holy, all that is held good and right and true. Amen.
All right, that was
I'm sorry,
excellent.
what was the full name of that?
Isabel Uli?
Here,
Yuli,
come here
nailed it.
Come here for a sec. Say your whole name.
Isabella Marie Yuli,
And how old are you?
14 years old.
That was one of the best invocations we've ever had.
Absolutely.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Miss Yuli comes to us from St. John Vianney, our Catholic church that's local. Amazing job. All right, so let's go ahead and kick this off. We have new employees, so that means the run of shame and the intro music. Which one? Right there. Presentations. And I got a new professional company in Rancho. Okay, yeah, that's you. So we're going to start with him introducing a brand new company that comes to us from a long city way far away that we have never seen before. Folsom. All right, go ahead.
So I'll invite Anna Scalzo and Rachel Zillner up to the stage and really want to just
thank them for coming today and really want to celebrate the conversation that's about to happen in the soft, we'll call this the soft launch of the conversation that's happening later this week. And we'll let, part of this is the team that is here really represents, I think, embodies some of the Rancho Cordova culture of who we are as a city and as an organization. So really excited to hand this off to this team to present what they've come here to present today about. So kick it off, go for it.
Thank you for, okay, now this mic works. Does that mic work?
This mic works.
We fancy now. Okay. Yep, we're mic'd. We're in trouble. Uh-oh. JK. Thank you.
Please.
Yeah.
Can you give them 3 minutes, please? 3 minutes only. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening. We are super excited to be here. I'm Rachel Zillner, and this is my co-founder, Ann Descalzo. And we are multi-passionate entrepreneurs that have been hanging out in the great city of Rancho for a long time. In fact, we have a long-standing history supporting great places that you know, like the California Capital Air Show. We've been hanging out with Diane and the Rancho Cordova blah, 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 Chamber of Commerce. Gosh, words are hard tonight. I'm so
Hi, Diane.
excited. Oh, Diane's here. Yay, there you are. Hanging out with Diane for a long time. And we founded actually, I should just share really quick. We have 20 years, 35 combined of banking experience. That was our former lives. And about 4.25 years ago, Ann and I decided that we made great co-founders. She is the yin to my yang, and we decided to step out from our banking background and create something really special. So we're here to talk to you about some of the special, crazy things that we've been doing and how they're related to Rancho. So I think the next slide
I'm having trouble advancing.
is about why. All right, well, we'll just keep going while the clicky thing does its thing.
No, it didn't. Maybe it's slide.
So you take this one.
Yeah, so we chose Rancho for a lot of the reasons, but it's all the reasons you already know. And it's the strong business community, it's the culture, it's the diversity, it's how you invest in businesses, it's the workforce you have. We're all very attractive to us as we were looking to create a physical workspace. We know post-pandemic that work has changed and it's evolved, but we wanted a place to headquarter as we've grown. We were named one of the fastest growing businesses in Sacramento in 2023 and started as just a 2-person organization. Like you heard Rachel share, we're around 150 headcount at this moment. So in 4.5-ish years, we've grown fairly quickly, and we want to give our folks a place to call home and to root as we continue to grow.
So ultimately, we were hunting and searching, and we ultimately landed at 3249 Quality Drive, which is a former VSP IT building. This is 78,000 square feet of beautiful engagement. And it's also a lot more than we needed just in the organization that we created 4.25 years ago, which is Clutch. So we want to talk to you about all the cool stuff we plan to do at 3249 Quality Drive. You can see our family of brands up here. Tonight we're going to share a little bit about Clutch, some more about the new endeavors that start this month, which is Frequency Co-working and Events, and Minervaverse. Very exciting, and I will start talking about Clutch. So we like to say things like we come in clutch. Ann mentioned how many employees we have. If you were trying to figure out, what the heck do you guys do? We have 9 focal areas that are like, this is what we do really well, but I would consider us a professional services organization. We're like a baby Accenture. One day, we'll be bigger than Accenture. Born right here in Rancho is the way we'll get to play with that. But we're really focused on showing up differently. And okay, well, what the heck does that mean? It means that we are a core value focused organization. We put our people first. We believe that if we create a space where our employees can authentically show up as themselves, that we can do anything. Ann and I, in the pandemic, got to do some crazy cool things like putting in place the call center that supported the 40 million people in the state of California for content about what COVID-19 was and how it was happening. We support HCI, Healthcare Access and Information, with their new mental health certifications. We've put nurses and medical professionals into facilities that didn't have enough space. I mean, we truly like to be the gal that you call when you have some sort of a need or a friction point in your organization. And it goes as wide as supporting sports management. We helped Folsom Ranch Sports find their location, and we support their brand and I mean everything in between, because we're like a baby Accenture. About 2 months ago, we were awarded a Cal Competes tax credit as we made a commitment to put roots down in the community in California. They awarded us $11.6 million, and by choosing to put our headquarters here in Rancho Cordova, it means that we'll be bringing more people into our space and more dollars, more spending into this region. It also means that we get to create space for connection, further education for our employees, and have dedicated workspace. Now, we have told our employees that we're not going full Elon on them, so they won't be required to come in every day, 8 to 5, which is an important thing. But we are trying to create a workforce environment where they get to be radically flexible. They choose when they come in and what that might look like. So it's gonna look a little different than how headquarters have been in that building before. And we have a very aggressive growth plan. We are going to scale a little over 90% in the first year this year, our first year in the building. And then you can see our aggressive growth goals from there. And just right now, there's about 6 of us working out of the building. So you might see a couple cars, a little buzz. We've picked up all of our leaves and all the berries off the ground. And we're just getting ready to have friends over for, food. January the 18th, we are having a media event. We have all of the local media channels and some national embargoed currently to share this information. And in fact, Ann and I got to go to the New York Stock Exchange floor to do an interview about how we're placing this center for this massively growing company right here in Rancho Cordova. So we're excited to get that national press for ourselves in the city as well. And that comes out, I think, Friday this week. So that will be fun. And then, Ann, I'm going to turn over to you to talk about one of the new entities.
Yes, so in this commercial building, it's 78,000 square feet, it's 3 floors, and for anyone that hasn't visited the space, the first floor was very beautifully designed by VSP and intentionally created for learning, conferences, mid-sized conferences, collaboration space, and Rachel and I have always been inspired through connection and collaboration. And so it's been one of our dreams to create space for community to come together, not only with Clutch, but with each other. And so we have launched a co-working and event space. It will be called Frequency. It will occupy the first floor. It will be available for booking by the public. And we hope to see lots of fun and exciting business ideas and collaboration happen in that space. And so that is coming soon. There is some construction that will be occurring on the first floor to build out some additional offices. It's a very open workspace that was designed by VSP, and we'd love to see the opportunity to nurture other businesses that want just a little bit of space or a place to call home, and we'd love for them to make it Rancho Cordova. So you'll see that in the office space. We also have meeting rooms that'll be available and bookable as well for as few as 5 people, and our large space can accommodate up to 160 people theater style. So excited to see community events occur here, business events and engagements happen on the day-to-day, and to feel that vibrancy in the building again. And it's a beautiful space that VSP had created to do such a thing. So very excited for that. And then when it comes to the co-working model, this is an opportunity for folks that are either out of town. There's wonderful hotels right across the parking lot and in this area. So if folks just need a place to sit for a day and have a comfortable workspace, or they're taking a meeting between Sacramento and up the hill and they want a spot to land, it's conveniently located off the freeway, as everyone knows. And so we're very proud to offer that space as well.
Okay, and if we continue along this fun vibe and energy space, there were a few lessons that Ann and I, kind of took from the School of Hard Knocks as we were coming along on our journey through Clutch on what an experience looks like for entrepreneurs and specifically for women. And because of some of the tough times that we had, we said that when we got to a place where we felt more secure, that we could actually reach back and provide support to other entrepreneurs, that we would do so. So we are very excited to bring to you the concept of Minervaverse. Minerva is intentionally named after the Greek goddess Minerva. She is the goddess of war, and you got to do a little bit of war to get anything done, right? And she's also the goddess of around creativity. So we've got the arts, we have other cool things that are happening, which feels very entrepreneurial for us. This is a 3-part program. The first is Ann and I are starting a venture capital fund. This is called Minerva Fund. We're investing $2 million of our own money into the VC fund to help ensure that female entrepreneurs and people of color get a more equitable stake of VC dollars. Right now, women only get under 2% of all VC funds, which couldn't be anywhere near something that you could call equitable. So we're putting our investment into that to help move the dial. And we are inviting other people to come along with us into that space. That fund launches this month, and our plan is to have 30 different companies in that portfolio by the end of this year. So we are aggressively pursuing goals to help support other entrepreneurs in that startup journey. The second piece of Minervaverse is the Minerva Accelerator. We are very excited about the accelerator because if you are an entrepreneur and you're really good at your craft, right? Whatever widget it is that you make or whatever cool thing it is that you have, then you're really good at that. But you're probably terrible at bookkeeping, at marketing, at doing your taxes, at some other administrative function, and all of the other things that it takes to be a successful business. So we are creating this accelerator to partner with entrepreneurs to help ensure their success. We have a whole list of different professional development things that will be available to them, different services that will be made available to them to help ensure that they are successful. We are modeling this after Y Combinator, which is one of the most successful accelerators out of the Silicon Valley, and we hope to recreate that here in our space in Rancho Cordova, which of course couples really nicely with what we're doing at Frequency Co-working and Events, because what we're really making is a space for entrepreneurs to exist together, and the energy that they have when those accidental collisions happen creates really cool stuff. And then the third leg of this is the Minerva Incubator. There's a significant difference between an accelerator, which is an entrepreneur that has had some success but needs further support, and an incubator, which is a true startup, where someone has an idea, but they're not sure where to go, or they have an opportunity and they need additional assistance. In 2025, our plan is to launch the third leg of Minervaverse, which is this Minerva Incubator, and our intention currently is to support disabled veterans as they work to get into government consulting. It's the main core of our business and what we do, so we feel good about supporting other business owners who want to come up in that space, and it matches our pillars of why we designed Clutch in the first place. So that's the short, long, and all of the data and information before this all makes it to the news on Thursday. We thought we would come and share our excitement and hope to see you all in our building to do fun things. We're also planning on getting a coffee shop.
What type of coffee?
The bean kind.
And we've not done this before, so we don't know if we're supposed to wait for questions or just sit down or see what happens.
Sit down.
Okay.
No, I'm just
We'll take
joking.
it, Garrett.
We have people want to say something. Go ahead, Donald.
No, welcome to town. I know I've known both of you for many, many years, and I heard a little bit of the rumblings of this, but no, we're really thrilled to have you here, and I think we're all still grappling with what this business park here is going to look like, because it really was a jewel for so many years, but with telecommuting and remote working and everything like that, I think we're all just kind of wondering what happens next. So thrilled to have you here. I think the only thing that I would ask you to ponder, along with all of these other exciting things that you're working on, is we're really trying to figure out how we add more housing to this business park.
Great.
And I feel like there is a massive amount of extra parking space in the business park. And so as an owner of a building, if there's an opportunity to work with you for workforce housing or other kinds of concepts on your property, that's something that we've been thinking about for a decade, really. But we're really going to have to kick it into high gear as we look at a lot of this business park, it may still be occupied, but there aren't cars in the parking lot anymore. There may be spaces for them and they may come in sometimes, but if we could move those people that are commuting from Elk Grove, from Roseville, from El Dorado Hills, from Folsom, from Sacramento to move here, we'd love to work with you on that.
Yeah, love that. That adds to work-life balance. So we would totally want to participate in those conversations as well.
Thank you, and welcome to town.
Linda?
So I just want to congratulate you. Several years ago, on a study mission to actually Boulder, Colorado, we heard about when incubators were new as a concept. And we heard about an incubator that Boulder had developed, the Boulder Economic Development Office, their Chamber of Commerce, and the University of Colorado. And it's exactly what you all are talking about in your last Minerva verse. I love this. And actually, because it was so successful, they would take the entrepreneurs coming out of the university, put them together with the information and talent that they needed to grow that successful business that you're talking about, and then help them market it. And because they were so successful, they actually ultimately got to be a very large organization headquartered down the road in Denver. So I'm thrilled. You know, we saw this, and nobody's ever really been able to replicate that successful kind of model here in this area, which is so odd. But here you are doing it, and I'm thrilled for you.
Thank you.
And we'll see you Thursday.
Yeah, oh, good, thank you. And you know this about us in particular, we're go figure it out, you know, and we were excited based on our experience that we needed to find a way for others
Absolutely.
too. Yeah.
Congratulations, you guys. And then a special congratulations to Matt and Norton, who snuck them out of Folsom. Great job. That's why we love you. All right, congratulations, guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you very much.
Yay, we win. All right. Can I call on Randy Kay for an overview of the Community Enhancement Fund and new software and fiscal 2024 grant and timelines?
Good evening, members of the council. Thanks for having me here. I am Randy Kay, your lead analyst with the Community Enhancement Investment Fund. We affectionately call ourselves CEIF, so you will be hearing me say that acronym a few times during my brief presentation. And before I begin, I want to acknowledge that the team includes my colleague and wonderful friend, Lindsay Samples, who's also here in the audience tonight, as well as a college intern from Sacramento State, and we have support from Delisa Verdun as well. So that's your CIF team, and here now I will give you a brief update on a tool we are using to grow how we operate. So there's a theme tonight. We want to innovate and operate more efficiently. So there is a brand new portal that we are going to bring to the public process for applying to community grants in fiscal year 24-25. And we are excited to share this opportunity with you because it changes and transforms how we've done things. For the last 8 years, we've used Microsoft products and we've managed as best we can, but the grant application process and reporting process has grown from, say, 40 applications to well over 110. So the amount of data we're getting is just so much higher, and we want to look at how we can streamline. So earlier this year, staff conducted an RFP, and we procured a software as a service solution. And after the demonstrations, we knew there was efficiencies to be had. And we are now looking to, we have developed our new software. It's a program called Submittable. And outlined here on this slide are just a few of those benefits that we are just starting to realize. Improved access to real-time information on all of our grants and the enhanced data and report capabilities. We did a soft launch in December where we collected mid-year reports, and things have been going fantastic. Our grantees are able to sign on, bring us information, we can open things up and edit it. It's really going well. It truly offers an online experience, and it's streamlining, which is great for staff. And we can also communicate directly through the portal, which goes into email systems, whichever format they're using. And it maintains a record of that communication. So we're participating in an iterative process, and it's beautiful. It really is gorgeous. So I wanted to share some snapshots of what does this actually look like. I think it's fun and it's new to the CIF team and new to the city. On the left side here, you're looking at kind of the grant opening page. And on the right side, you're looking at kind of the beginning of the application. We took the standard application that we've used for a number of years, and now it has logic built into it, which is really fun. We ask for information about the funding, we ask for information about your project details, and I think one of the coolest aspects of using a logic-based platform is we're going to be able to drill down into very specific areas. Does your project include a school site, or is it located at a Cordova Recreation and Park District location? So staff will be able to bring you some more deeper data about where these projects and programs are happening during the application process before when we come to you back with all of the applications in April. And we'll also be able to tell more about what's happening with these projects during the reporting process. And I thought I would just share with you a quick snapshot of what it looks like from the staff perspective. We can see who was the person who submitted an application. We can see the actual application, or in the software, it's called the initial form. And then under additional forms, these are where we request our mid-year reports or our final reports. And on the right side is this really awesome place where we can actually see communication between the grantee and city staff. So whether it's myself or Lindsay or another member of the team, we can see who's communicated last with the contact. So this will help with a lot of information sharing, kind of who's done what, what's happening, and it's creating kind of a history or a touch point of what's going on with each project. So I also wanted to share that there's real-time visual information, and we are just beginning to look at how do we even access this information. There's a timeline on the top if we can kind of see a heat map of when people are applying. And then we also have the ability to label things, so we'll be able to give you more data on what's contained in the applications or even within the reports that we get. It's very robust, and we are just beginning to scratch the surface. We're also receiving training and support directly from the vendor, so it's been a very incredible process for the CIF team, a small but mighty CIF team. I thought I would also share, in addition to the software, I wanted to give the council an update about our upcoming grant cycle. We launch our little rocket ship on February 5th. Anything involving a school or a park that requires an endorsement will be due March 1st at noon, and the race closes on March 15th at noon, and we will be coming to you in April. Once our first meeting will be the full set of applications, the second meeting will come with staff recommendations as well as the opportunity to do a work session so we receive your feedback. And then we plan to come back in June with the final resolution for adoption. I wanted to also just briefly share that we will be doing a lot of outreach with applicants, interested applicants, as well as with our grantees about how to apply. We want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable using the platform, so we'll be doing the Wednesday virtual sessions that we've done for the last few years, and we will also do drop-in technical assistance, so anyone who's needing a little more hands-on support to get comfortable with the platform will be available to them. And I gotta say, one of the coolest features we have here at the city is the ability to text. So that's my number right there, and you can text me at my work number, and I can help get you information about the grant process. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and we'll be sharing more information in the Friday memo about what's happening with CIF.
Go ahead.
So, Randy Kay, I just have a kind of a pedestrian question. I mean, this is really cool, all right, and I understand the benefit for the city and for the management of this process and for the fact that it lends much greater credibility to what we do, to what the level of stewardship is of the dollars that we've been given. I get that part. But it sounds like it kind of takes the human aspect out of it.
Oh, I appreciate that you're raising that.
People might think, well, I've got this project, but is it the kind of thing they want to even look at? So where do they find, is there a way in this huge new program that they can find that kind of information?
Sure. I just would love to share that we do want to have conversations with people about their projects and about their ideas. We have on our website an opportunity to sign up for a Zoom session so we can talk with you. We want to know about great ideas, and just the last 3 years when I've worked here, I've seen so many of them come to life and become real programs and projects. And there's a lot of creative, wonderful people who want to do good things in our community, and we want to see those things happen. They just need a little boost of how to do the online process, or how to apply, or how do I fill out the form related to the budget. And so we do that through Zoom, and we will also do it in person, whether they want to make a special appointment or if they want to participate in the drop-in sessions. We want to make sure that technology is not a hindrance to applying, and we want to make sure we're helping coach those who are interested in CIF grant application process. We are here to help you, and we want to help guide you to success in applying, and especially by the specific deadlines. So anything school or park before March 1st.
Sure.
And then our partners over at those endorsements complete their process by the actual deadline. We are also working directly with all of the agencies that do endorsements, training them. We're training city staff who will also be part of the review process. So if you have a constituent that you think would like to share an idea, I'm happy to speak with them. And all of these options, the email address and the phone number, that's how you get a hold of CIF, and we will talk to anyone all day about our opportunity.
Great. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So I had a couple of questions, really on the deadline page. So I've already had some of the schools asking me. So the school deadline is for the superintendent's endorsement, and then after that, they're actually going to do rankings. But they're not going to give us that in March, right?
So applications related to a school or park are due by March 1st. And that would be, for example, let's just say 916 Inc. If they were to apply, they have to have their application in because they want to do a program at Carver High School. They would have to apply before March 1st. And then staff recognizes that application is received, and we notify Sac City Unified School Districts.
But you're going to do it. You're not asking the applicants to go get the endorsement.
No, actually, that's part of the beauty of the process, is that it's now streamlined, where it's all run through the software. So the endorsements are actually going to take place through the system. That's a really nuanced level that I didn't want to share in the presentation, but I'm happy you raised it.
Yeah, well, and it's important because we've had a lot of applicants that just throw it in there and they never talk to the school district about offering a karate program or something out of school without ever asking for permission to do it, right?
That is definitely on point. So I'm going to go back to this page right here. If you can look towards the bottom of your screen, you'll note that you can, there's a question that says, have you reached out to anybody at the school district? And then we ask you to list, well, who was that person? Or if you haven't, then we give them the contact information of those they are supposed to be communicating with.
Great. That's great. And that's been a huge struggle for some really quality ideas that just never really saw it. So that's fantastic. And Park District is specific to doing something at a park that they would need permission.
We ask the applicant.
And reminding everybody here, we don't run parks. So the Park District is a separate government from the city. For anybody who doesn't know or is listening online, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Thank you, council member. We do ask our applicants to tell us, are you looking for a partnership with the school or with the school parks district, or are you looking just to use a facility? And it's important when they are reviewing for an endorsement that they understand the difference. We wouldn't want to put the council in a position of awarding a grant for a place where there's no space for a project to occur. So we like to have that information when we bring it to you in April.
But hypothetically, a nonprofit that wanted to hold new mother yoga classes in a park, they don't need the permission of the park district to get together and fund for yoga mats or something like that. Or assuming they had a nonprofit and everything else worked, that like showing up to a park and doing something that doesn't require a permit isn't something that we would necessarily ask them for. That's a hell of a hypothetical, I know.
It's actually a great idea. Maybe somebody will put that application in. I think if we were going to fund something that was happening at a park on a regular basis, we'd want to know, do they have Thursdays at 10 available at that park? And so we do want our contacts over at Cordova Recreation and Park District to review those applications. And that's where we try to coach everyone as much as possible prior to the deadline. Please communicate directly with the teams over at Cordova Recreation and Park, Elk Grove Unified, Sac City Unified, as well as Folsom Cordova.
So, and the only other feedback, and you and I have talked about this one instance where it happened, but in dealing with the school districts, just my little bit of feedback is making sure that the actual applicants are aware as those contracts and conversations progress. And you and I talked about the one that it all got worked out with the school district, and the school didn't know that they could order the stuff yet, and it had been months. So just a little that at the local level, the districts, I mean, it's not our staff, it's not you, but the districts kind of wrap these things up and then don't tell anybody at the local level sometimes that it was done.
And there's been a lot of staff changes, and procurement is taking a long time, even in this kind of post-COVID era. That has been resolved, and the equipment has been ordered for that grantee.
Yeah, no, I know that. And you're right, there was absolutely some staff changes at the top of that body. We won't name names. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really quick, as we do this, and I'm going to give a thank you to Micah, upgrading technology is key for the city in the next 4 years, 5 years. We need to be the premier person when it comes to the highest level technology, which increases efficiency. So as we try to find people in this market, which is really hard to find quality people and get them in the op, the best we can do is more technology that be able to certify stuff. So take this technology and keep growing with it, keep trying to make it more efficient, at the same time trying to find good people, because we know the market is so flushed, it's hard to even find anybody right now, but we can take our technology. So I like to see this, and I want to hear more of this throughout the entire city. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, so let me call on Drew Hart to do a new employee introduction. Wait. Introduction movement. Music. No longer. Can we not turn it on? Can we call IT?
I wasn't consulted on what my walk-up music would be.
Next time.
Okay, well, great. Well, good evening, council members. My name is Drew Hart. I'm a transportation planner in the Public Works Department on the traffic and transportation team. And I am thrilled to be here to introduce one of our new assistant engineers that we've hired recently. And it was a month ago that I was able to introduce one of our other new assistant engineers. So we have a movement in the right direction by bringing on some young and talented staff who will help us to be more responsive to community needs. Austin, who I'm about to introduce, has already been engaged with problem solving, doing some research, and helping managing his own projects. So we've definitely taken two excellent qualified assistant engineers and put them straight to work. It's just a testament to the good work that we're doing in the Public Works Department. So Austin, I will let Austin introduce himself to you all right now.
Hello, council members. My name is Austin Miller, and I'm a new assistant civil engineer in the Traffic and Transportation Division of the Public Works Department. So a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in the Bay Area, and I received a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from Cal Poly SLO in 2021. And then for the past 2 years, I've been working for a civil engineering firm in the Bay Area, with part of that time being as a contractor working for the City of Daly City's Public Works Department. And then that experience working as a contractor for a public agency got me really interested in being able to work for a city government agency full-time. And then I eventually landed here at the City of Rancho Cordova. And I just want to say that I really look forward to learning and improving my career, as well as helping to improve the City of Rancho Cordova. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Welcome.
Welcome aboard.
All right. Citizens wishing to address the council for any matter not on the agenda may do so at this time via teleconference or by completing and submitting a speaker's card to the city clerk. If you want to make a public comment via telephone, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom center of your screen. If you're participating by telephone and you want to make a public comment, please press *9 to raise your hand. For these participating by Zoom or telephone, please wait to be called upon by the city clerk. For items not on the agenda, speaker will be called upon by the mayor at this point on the agenda when it will be heard. Speakers are encouraged to keep their comments to 3 minutes or less, state their name and community of residence. Under provision of California Government Code and City Council prohibited from discussing or taking immediate actions on any items on the agenda unless it is demonstrated to be of an emergency nature or need to take immediate action. Stacy, can I have our first person?
Yes, we'll start with James Garcia. Following James Garcia will be Jim Garcia. You'll have up to 3 minutes.
Perfect. Hi, I'm James Garcia, resident in Stone Creek neighborhood. Just want to have a couple comments. Wanted to thank our council members who attended via in person or via Zoom for the last Folsom Cordova Unified School District meeting. Support was really appreciative. There's a lot of residents from both communities that are really concerned with, especially the area south of Highway 50 and east of Sunrise. There's actually going to be another meeting on Thursday that they're going to form a subcommittee kind of as a result of all of the input that was gathered by both city councils that were there, as well as a lot of the residents. So just thank you again for doing that. I know a couple of our members are out of the area, so unfortunately they won't hear this until they watch the review. The other is towards Micah, if I could possibly have a couple minutes after the meeting just to discuss a letter with you, that would be great. So that's it for now, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. James? Jim? Sorry. Jay's Garcia.
Good evening, Jim Garcia, Lincoln Village resident since 1977. Anyway, I hope that all of you and your staff had an opportunity to read a letter that I sent out this past weekend regarding the stormwater rates that will be increasing in the near future. Yes, I understand that you do have a protest hearing coming up on the 5th of February. We appreciate that opportunity. However, my concern is a couple of them. The extremely high hurdle that people have to jump through to have this denied, disapproved by the council. Again, we have lots of residents that own property in the community. Yes, the council has approved the increases, and the increases are substantial. For the next 5 years, they'll be coming up at roughly 17.5% each year for the next 5 years. But also, as you know, the it's tied to the CPI after that. So indefinitely, I guess for a lifetime, I guess, we're going to have rate increases coming up every single year. The rates for the San Francisco, Oakland, Hayward region for 2019 were 3.3%. For 2020, they were 1.7%. For 2021, they were 3.2%. 2022, they were 5.6%. And for 2023, 3.7%. The bottom line is that they keep going up every single year. The cost of living adjustment for Social Security was 3.2%. So the bottom line is that people with low income, fixed income, will continue to feel the brunt of these decisions. We're going to feel, a lot of the people are going to feel it pretty hard. Even though some people might live in apartments, well, they can likely see increases in their apartment rents because, again, it affects everyone, all businesses in the community, and of course, residential property owners. I understand the need for increases. However, the City Council has lots of opportunities to explore alternatives. You do that on a regular basis when it comes to funding Little League. You took a lot of input and made a lot of effort to try to do something at Allston Park recently, almost providing up to $20 million for that Little League project, and with continued support for it for a lifetime. You build it, you support it. I'd like for your staff to be, that's very creative on how to do these types of things, to also give an opportunity to the residents of this community to benefit from the city's budget. Use the general fund, explore grants, explore other possibilities.
Please wrap up your comments.
Thank you, I will. And anyway, that's about it, but have the staff to take another look at things. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Those are the speaker cards that I have for the general public comment. I'm going to read off written public comment that was emailed, and then I will go to Zoom. 2 individuals submitted written public comment via email. That was Jim Garcia and Valerie Knipschild. Those were distributed to the City Council via email. They have been printed and placed in a binder in the back of the council chambers, and they have also been posted on the city's website. Going to Zoom, I am looking at Zoom, and I do not see any hands that are raised by callers, by phone, or by Zoom.
Thank you very much. Council reports. We're going to start with Linda.
Okay. So, I think the first thing I probably attended was the opening. Several of us went to the opening of a lovely new park called Hummingbird Park. And they actually implemented the hummingbird image in several different artistic ways, thanks to Rick Sloan probably, throughout the park, which was really very nice. Regional Transit met, and you had probably read in the paper that the vast majority of the RT board voted to approve a kind of a temporary or a tentative expenditure plan to build a new light rail station in the Dos Rios community. And it's not necessarily a wise financial decision depending on how it works out. And it certainly does not, it certainly ignores the fact that Rancho Cordova was promised a train station at the library when the system was first implemented 30 years ago. And of course, we are still waiting for our train station at the library. And then the other thing that's probably more important at this point, because regional transit, and here again, the funding really directly relates to establishing this train station at Dos Rios. But regional transit is in the process of acquiring low-floor cars, which are infinitely more accessible to people with mobility issues, people who use walkers, people who use wheelchairs, and it's just much better than the original design of the cars where the steps are about this tall. And there's a lot of us who have a lot of trouble getting into the current light rail cars. So this will be a huge benefit. So 2 things are going on the goal line, which we are. And number 1 is the reconstruction of the station platforms because they have to be modified for these low floor cars. And so at this point in time, it's important that our regular riders either go on the RT website or be sure to check the A-frame signs at the stations because, for instance, this week for a period of time you will not be able to board at the Sunrise Station to go into downtown Sacramento. You can go up to Hazel, but you can't go into downtown. You need to go down to Cordova Town Center or Zinfandel or Matherfield. Cordova High School, several of us attended the grand opening of their weight room, which has been a project in the works for about 10 years. And it was really quite magnificent. There were a lot of very nice things said about the impact of maintaining your physical presence, not just when you're in high school and playing sports actively, but all throughout your life, and the way in which things like that get you started off on the right track. Regional Transit also is still meeting to discuss the composition of the RT board. We talked about it again today. There are some good models that would bring better representation to Rancho Cordova and the other small cities. Rancho Cordova currently has only 2 bus routes. If it were not for the Cordovan and the Dial-A-Ride, Rancho Cordova residents would not have any alternates to just getting into their car. and driving to somewhere. So this is a very important conversation. And then finally, I will tell you that some of us caught the YouTube live stream from the National Cathedral last Saturday afternoon, celebrating the Vietnam veterans and welcoming them home. It was absolutely moving. Several chaplains, I mean, the National Cathedral is this phenomenal venue anyway, and the music was just spectacular. The young man who played this huge organ, and I was going to look up the number of pipes this organ has, but it was extremely powerful, and I know everybody there. There was probably not a dry eye in the house, and so several chaplains presented. There was music that all of us grew up on. If you grew up in any of the military services and grew up with like an Air Force hymnal, you would recognize all the music. And a gentleman who is a retired Army colonel spoke very passionately about his time in Vietnam. And it ended with echo taps. And it was really very lovely. So, thank you.
Go ahead, Don.
I'll be fairly brief, because most of my boards and commissions haven't met since early December. AIR does meet next week, so I'll update you then, but none of the 2x2s have met either. The only other thing I wanted to clarify from one of the public commenters is the fee increase that they were talking about was to authorize for a vote and a protest meeting to be held back here at another time, but that only passed 3-2. So to sit here and say that the city council passed a fee increase when it hasn't gone into effect, not all of us voted for it.
All right, so a couple things. Weight room was awesome. It's awesome to see that the citizens are willing to trust us to be able to engage our citizens to help out our schools, because our kids mean a lot to us, and Rancho Cordova happens to be one of the only cities I know that invests millions of dollars into its school district as of right now, in the Folsom Cordova School District. So really quick, on Thursday, we were at the Folsom Cordova School District, and they were trying to decide whether they're going to put a high school, the next high school in Rancho Cordova, or they're going to put it in Folsom. Now, it was quite a dust-up, and in the end, there's a couple problems. One, if they do push forward with this school as fast as they want it, it would immediately raise the taxes almost 200% on all those people that live in Rancho Cordova, with the guarantee that the most we might get is a grade school, high school, but I don't see how that's logical since there's not enough money to even build a high school anymore. It's $700 million for a low-grade high school, and some are probably around $1 billion to get this high school built in Folsom. So whoever gets this built is probably the only representative of the money. And the problem is Rancho Cordova is due half that money. So the real problem is of the $750 million, Rancho could do its fair share, which is what I would believe would be half. But right now, they're playing that at this point, there's none of the money is going to come to Rancho Cordova. It's all going to be spent in Folsom, and none of it is coming our way. Currently, right now, there's studies being done in the Folsom Cordova School District to say whether it's time for Rancho Cordova to be able to step away from it and become 2 school districts. And we should have that study out in the next week or so, and then we as a city can look at it and say, does it time, can Rancho Cordova stand on its own? And can we fund our own kids? Because it's not fair anymore with the revenues if we don't get literally anything out of a bond that places taxes on our citizens. And we can say lots of inequities and stuff like that, but we're not even going to go there. I think Rancho Cordova at the beginning, we helped build the Folsom Cordova School District on our own because we lifted them up when we were the big ones and they were the small ones. And as our Air Force Base, Folsom Cordova grew and we weren't able to keep up, but they still helped us out. And I think now we can fairly both agree to walk away, no reason to fight. And I think Rancho Cordova will be better off for it. I think Folsom will be better off for it because in the end, we're 2 very unique, very good cities. And I think we're all going in the right direction. I just think that staying together doesn't quite fit that role. And that's just my personal opinion. And if you have any questions, love to hear about it. Please, 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 everyone's watching, stay engaged. Listen to Jim Garcia, listen to James Garcia, get engaged because it is critical that we stay on top of this because this is the next future of our citizens. If I can say that our school district is going in a better way or we're able to grow even a little bit, it would really help out the entire community. It's one of the few things we're really missing is the A+ schools and A+ parks. And if we can do these right next steps, I think we can get there. So, and that's it for me. I'll send it over to Micah.
Sure, just jumping off that conversation a little bit is just a way of public announcement. There is a January 29th SUSD, City of Rancho Cordova, City of Folsom meeting coming up. So if you are interested in that topic, that would be a great meeting to go to and participate in. Just a couple of other items. Since this is our first meeting since the holiday season, a couple of thank yous to our city staff team and the different groups who've met and participated in the Holiday Star event, the POW Run, the Christmas in Cordova, our holiday tree lighting. So really want to thank the city staff team for all the different participants, whether it's our police department, our facilities teams, our community engagement, all the different people that were involved in putting those together. Really want to thank all of them since this is our first meeting since those holiday. Second, really want to announce an upcoming event, the Spring Service Day on May 18th. We've had a great kickoff meeting to that day, which is really a good day that's going to be all about community service and volunteerism and really wanting to highlight all the activities and our nonprofits that are at work in the city of Rancho Cordova on an ongoing basis. But really save the date in your calendars for May 18th for the Spring Service Day, and that's Lori Ann and the community engagement team and a group of volunteers that's working on that event. And so you can put that in your calendars for the future. And last, just by way of announcement, the Heart Winter Shelter Program is launching and begins operation. Winter Shelter Program this month that runs through March 2nd. And so this is 20 beds throughout the community that's available every night in different places. So in this season is a great partnership with the Heart team and providing places to stay for those who need it. And so with that, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Micah. All right, moving on to consent calendar items. Consent calendar items of matter deemed routine and non-controversial by staff. Unless a member of the council wishes to pull an item for individual consideration, all items may be approved in one motion. Guys, is there anything you'd like to pull?
Hearing none, oh, actually.
Wait. I got to get public comment first.
Yeah, find out if there's public comment.
Really wish we could take something that's on the agenda and put it on the consent agenda, but I'll just go ahead and leave it.
Is there any public consent? Is there any public comment for the consent calendar?
The city clerk's office has not received any public comment for items on the consent calendar. Looking at Zoom, there are no hands that are raised and there are no hands by phone.
Then I will move approval of items 9.1 through 9.5.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Mayor Sander is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati is absent. Councilmember Gatewood?
I just feel like I should abstain just for fun, just to have something new in there. Approved.
Thank you.
Mr. Acting Mayor or Chair or whatever we're calling it
I'll
tonight,
take that.
I'm going to just ask that we waive the reading of 12.1 and just move on to the subject.
Well, we have 11.
Oh, we're still doing 11. Okay, well, when we get to 12.1, sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
I will go ahead and do that. Consent and public hearing items. All right, so you messed me up. All right. Can you read the subject?
We have no consent public hearing items.
All right, then we'll start with public hearing items.
Yes.
Start with number 1.
Okay. Mineshaft digital billboard signs, that will be item 11.1. And conditional use permit, minor design review and operating agreement, mitigated negative declaration prepared pursuant to Article 6 of the California Environmental Quality Act. If we can have the staff person, Arlene
Arlene,
Darcy.
you're not Arlene. Nope. That's not Arlene, still walking up here. Where's Arlene?
Good evening, Council. Staff is requesting that the item be continued to the February 5th City Council meeting.
Move approval.
Hold on, I'm just double checking. Okay. Sorry. Can
We
you,
need to take public comment.
can you say that again, Darcy?
Good evening, Council. Staff is requesting that the item be continued to February 5th City Council meeting.
The motion,
Move approval.
Do we have any public comment first?
for item 11.1, yes, we do have public
Don't we
comment.
have to take that before we can take action?
Yes.
Public comment, please.
James Garcia,
We can remind commenters that this will be coming back soon for them to comment on again.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. James Garcia, resident of Stone Creek. My comments for this is actually really relevant, especially with the mayor out of the office. But my comments are more directed towards the city attorney for clarification on when one should recuse themselves. At a planning commission meeting, Adam, you recused yourself over a potential gain due to a picture of a company you own stock in that may have been a supplier for batteries. Ms. Terry, you also were advised by the city attorney to recuse yourself from the recent discussion on residential trash pickup, possible vendor change from Republic Services to Atlas Disposal due to your wife's involvement with the air show and their exclusive contract with Atlas Disposal for the air shows. Mayor Sander recently recused himself over the new floodplain ordinance due to living in an area that may be affected by flooding, even though there's a much larger area of the city that butts up to the river that can also flood. There were also some extra funds due to refinancing a portion of taxes for the Anatolia residents that 3 council members had to try to recuse themselves, but ultimately had to draw straws in order to have a quorum. So metaphorically speaking, because it was done by Stacy for the drawing of the straws. David Sander is the president of the board of the Cordova Community Council. Myself and others in the community believe that there is a perceived conflict that he should recuse himself in matters that relate to anything to do with the Cordova Community Council, including, but not limited to, approving funds for like the 4th of July, city anniversary celebrations, and decisions relating to the mine shaft and/or digital freeway signs, due to the fact that it is something that he has to have a wholehearted vested interest in as a president of that organization. There's a conflict. He is issuing taxpayer money for a purpose or approving projects, anything else. That is a perceived conflict of interest. Even though he makes nothing as being the president of that board, it still is a conflict because he has to do what's right for that organization as number one as that president. Fiduciary responsibility, but he also has a fiduciary responsibility to us as residents of the city. So I would like clarification as to whether he should also recuse himself. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Any other public comment?
So there's no additional public comment, but I want to make sure that you did open the public, I just want to make it clear.
I opened the public hearing.
The public hearing. We
James
had,
talked.
yes, we had.
Anyone else?
I do not have any additional public comments for this item.
I have a comment.
All right,
So-
I'm gonna,
And-
wait, let me close it. All right. Council?
So, since Dave is not here to defend him, I'm going to. Many of us serve on nonprofit boards throughout this region. I serve on about 5. I'm the board chair of the Children's Museum. I'm the treasurer of the Urban League and many other organizations, some that receive funding from here. In the case of my wife working for the air show, we have a joint checking account that she gets paid for from the air show. I have no financial interest in the Children's Museum. David has no financial interest in the Community Council. You have to have a financial conflict of interest to be forced to recuse yourself from something. So James, in all due respect, go look up the law yourself and you can learn exactly why he doesn't have to recuse himself. With that, I will second the motion to table, to continue.
So my comment was kind of similar, because I think we could use some guidance in the future from our city attorney, simply because at one point, 4 members of this council are all past presidents of the Cordova Community Council. Okay.
And past, present,
So-
again, would
Yeah.
not be a conflict. But as a nonprofit, one, you have a remote conflict even there. But the fact that unless we were being compensated by the organization, we do not have a financial conflict of interest. Your question about a question of loyalties and duties is something that you could talk to the nonprofit or to us, but that is not a reason under California law that anybody needs to recuse themselves from a damn thing. So again, with all due respect, learn the law and you'll get your answer.
And I love
take
your
this
comment about loyalty and
I take
duty.
this very, very seriously, and I probably have recused myself more than anybody else in this council during the 11 years that I've been here. I know when I need to do it, and I know when I don't need to do it. Even in the question of the contract with the waste providers, I was the one that went to the city manager and said, go ask the city attorney what he thinks about this. I'm the one that asked that. When I was on the school board, there were instances where my employer was the bond broker for school bonds that they were floating, and I even had legal opinions telling me that it was not a conflict of interest, that my employer was so large that I could still vote for it, and I didn't anyways. So there are times that even under the law, I was allowed to do it, and I didn't. David has no financial conflict of interest in the items that we're discussing tonight or that we're going to talk about in the future, period.
For anybody who has been anywhere for a long time and participated in the community over decades, one would hope that you feel a sense of loyalty and duty to the community as a whole. And that, as you said so eloquently, Donald, is not a financial conflict of interest. So I moved it, Donald seconded it.
Call the question.
Roll call.
I do believe, and I'm going to ask the city attorney, because this item is being continued, I don't think we need to close the public hearing.
Yeah, I think.
Just leave it open?
Good point. Leave the public
inadvertently
hearing open.
referred to it as closed. Yeah, we'll leave it open if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor.
Do you have a way of subtracting the gavel?
We do.
Okay.
You may just raise it.
There's nothing to say we can't reopen a public hearing if we have an item again. No. Right? I thought, okay.
All right.
We're just continuing.
So we're leaving the public item open and continue it to next week.
Correct, thank you.
All right, excellent.
Okay, we have a motion by Budge and a second by Terry. Roll call, Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Budge.
Yes.
Mayor Sander is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati is absent. Councilmember Gatewood.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, can we go have 11.2? Albert, get up here.
The subject for 11.2 is a resolution approving the City of Rancho Cordova's adjusted storm drainage impact fee schedule for 2024, which is paid by developers to mitigate for their project impacts on the city's drainage system.
Good evening, council members, and Dahlia Fadel will be providing an update on this fee, which is paid by developers.
Good evening, honorable council members, city manager. So we're here tonight to approve the annual inflation for the drainage impact fee, which, as mentioned by Albert, is paid by developers. So next slide. Oh, sorry. Just some quick background. The program for the impact fee was transitioned from the county to the city back in 2020. The city started collecting fees under this program in March 2021. The drainage impact fee program requires developers to pay a fee to basically mitigate for their project impacts to the city's drainage system. The funds are typically used for installation of new regional storm drain facilities as well as enhancement of existing facilities to make sure we mitigate impacts from development as well as facilitate future development. The fee implementation, basically the fees are collected at the issuance of building permit or approval of improvement plans, whichever comes first. The fees are based on a fee schedule, that's in effect at the time of payment. And the fee is based on the proposed land use and the expected hardscape area and amount of runoff created by that land use. In January of each year, basically, we adjust the fees based on the San Francisco CPI index, and that's what we're doing tonight. I would like to point out that future updates are proposed to be done just under the Finance Department approval at staff level. But for tonight, we are approving the fee table for 2024. Finally, I would like to also add that this fee increase has nothing to do with the proposed stormwater utility rate increase that we will be holding a protest hearing for at the next
Because
council
you're
meeting.
so lucky, because if it did, there's only two of us, and we would have won this time.
So luckily, it's not that idle.
Okay, just a couple of
Go ahead, Linda.
implementation questions.
Sure.
So I'm very familiar with this fee. And are we, so now we're going to adjust it in January of each calendar year, and you put out notice to all the builders so that they know that it's all coming up, so they have their opportunity to go down and pull all their permits and pay the fee for the last year, just like everybody always does.
We did not necessarily specifically reach out to the BIA, but we do this annual increase every year. It is part of the ordinance chapter for this
Yeah.
impact fee program.
Yeah.
And it's very typical for this type of fee. So we
Oh, for
usually,
sure.
so, once we take it to council, that's probably their opportunity to weigh in on the subject matter. For future updates, though, we are hoping to do that at staff level. So we would definitely consider giving them a heads up, maybe once we post the new table for the year.
Sure.
We can reach out and post it on our website.
And so you post it somewhere that people know that the fee's going up.
Yes, we do post it on the city's website with the
Yeah.
other impact fees.
Okay, super. Yeah, and we only have one district, one fee for the entire city limits,
Yes.
regardless of the terrain or whatever.
Yes, it varies based on the proposed land use, however. So, for
Sure.
example, a single-family residential subdivision,
Sure.
the rate per acre is lower than a commercial or
Sure.
industrial use, for example.
But
Yes.
it's not complicated like the county with 11A, B, and C, and so on, so.
Yes, it's
Okay,
not.
Super,
It's
thank you,
one
Talia.
district, sure.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing and ask if there's any comment.
That was an affirmative.
The city clerk's office has not received any public comment for this item, and I am looking at Zoom, and give me just a minute. There are no hands that are raised in Zoom or by phone.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing, ask for a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Mayor Sander is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati is absent. Councilmember Gatewood?
Yep. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to 12.1. We're going to waive the reading and get right into the staff report. Albert, go ahead.
I was gonna say, can we just move on to what the recommendations are for this on slide 11?
Yes, we absolutely
Thanks.
can.
Can I just briefly share with the title with those
No.
who are
No.
joining by Zoom?
No,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Thank you. Go ahead.
And just while Persephone is pulling that up to the final slide, staff has looked into alternative names, and State of California Code requires that the legislative body approve name changes for roads. And our Quack is going to read our recommendation for us.
All right. So the recommendation we have for the street name change.
Go ahead, turn your mic on.
Yeah.
I'm Quoc Nam. So the recommendations we have for the street name change is Towering Rock Court, Artist Point Court, Monopass Court, Preston Falls Court, Peoria Court, Ridge Court, and Lava Bluff Court, or other name preferred by council.
All right.
Don't laugh.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, has anybody received any comments about keeping it the way it is?
No.
No.
But I have had national,
I've had lots of people ask why we named it that in the first place.
I've had international.
And I will say
questions.
that when this came up, I think we were all kind of, there's a street named that, and it made it through the list and got into, what I would say is, at some point I'd like to discuss staff being able to address this themselves if legally they're allowed to do it. I'd like to be able to delegate changing something like this if we run into it in the future. If these are the recommended ones, looking at the ones that are in front of me, Towering Rock sounds fine, or Artist Point Court sounds fine. I think I'd be fine with, honestly, any of the ones on this list, aside from what it's named now, which I don't really want to say. So if it was my vote and there's 3 of us, I'd move to choose Artist Point.
Ooh, that's very nice. Linda?
Nobody lives there. I am completely
All right.
shortchanged
Oh,
on
do we have
all
public
these
comment?
names.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I just call it Enterprise.
Listen, we got to move. I'm going to do some public
Battery
comment.
storage court too. I mean, yes, nobody actually lives on this.
All right. Can I ask for public comment?
The city clerk's office did not receive any public comment for this item, and I'm looking at Zoom and telephone, and there are no hands that are raised.
Excellent.
I'll
We're gonna
restate
go-
my motion for Artist Point Court.
Second.
Whatever.
So do we
They went
tell
through a
them
whole
what
like
one we
thing of
want?
asking people their opinion. Let's just pick one of the ones off
Yeah,
the
they
list.
got 2 opinions
Okay,
back.
we're going to check. We've chosen Artist Point
Got
Court.
4 responses.
So can we get a roll
We have
call,
a
please?
motion.
Can we get and a second?
We haven't chosen.
Artist Point Court.
May I just add just a little bit of information? This does require that it be posted out at the site and come back for a public hearing. And so we'll take the direction from City Council. We will post it out there for the site. It will come back and we can put it, if it's the desire of Public Council, we can put it on consent public hearing at a future date.
We can't delegate that to the planning commission?
I feel like that's a planning commission thing.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Just checking.
It'll come back on consent. Thanks.
Do we need to do a motion in a second? Roll call? We
did that.
You have a motion and a second. You need a roll call.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Terry.
Aye.
Councilmember Budge.
Sure.
Mayor Zander is absent. Vice Mayor Pulapati is absent. Councilmember Gatewood.
Yep.
Sure enough. I've never heard that.
That was an affirmative vote, Councilmember Budge.
Moving on to 12.2,
The
presentation regarding the citywide roundabout feasibility study and implementation plan. Cool, I've been wanting this one.
Good evening, Council. Albert Stricker with the Public Works Department. And roundabouts are an important tool that have been shown to provide significant safety measures for intersections. And not only do they provide added safety for the right intersections, when accidents do occur, they can reduce the severity of those accidents. And Christine Cordy, as we pull up the presentation here, is going to be providing more information for us.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. My name's Christine Cordy, Project Manager with the Public Works Department. So we are excited here to talk about citywide roundabout feasibility study and implementation plan. This is a planning study that has concepts of roundabouts, and we were successfully awarded a $155,000 Caltrans Sustainable Planning and Communities grant in June 2021 to complete this study. So this study shows how we capture the benefits from innovative roundabout treatments combined with best practices in local contexts. We have been working on this over the past 20 months. We started in June 2022, and this is a planning document, and we did receive public input as part of this process. So to kick it off, we completed a competitive procurement and selected Kittleson and Associates. So I believe we have Mike Alston available on Zoom. Yes, okay. So Mike is available. He had to quarantine, so he is here presenting on Zoom. So Mike, can you hear us, or are you able to unmute?
Hey, Christine, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right.
Okay,
Good.
Mike, I'm going to turn it over to you to kick off the presentation.
He actually quarantined? It looks like he's right outside.
I had to quarantine in the parking lot, yeah. No, I looked forward to coming up to Rancho and giving a presentation tonight. I live in Oakland, California, but unfortunately I got sick on a trip last week, so I'm giving this from my living room. But in any event, I'm excited to talk to you all about the roundabout feasibility study. So I'll run through a few slides. First, to give you some context on what a roundabout is and what the motivation for the study was. And then secondly, to talk about what we did and more importantly, what the city is getting and what the outcome of the study is. So first and foremost, the question is, well, what is a roundabout? So we're going to talk about what a roundabout is and what it's not. The most important message for this slide is that not all circular intersections are roundabouts. So many times if you talk to someone from, say, Boston, they'll tell you, yeah, I know what a roundabout is, and they'll be talking about large rotaries or signalized traffic circles like it's on the top right here. That's not a roundabout. The roundabouts are on the left here. They're controlled by yield on entry. So in other words, the people in the circle have the right of way. They're also generally about 65 to 200 feet in diameter. Often you might also talk to someone from, say, Seattle or locally Berkeley, California, and say, yeah, I know what a roundabout is. And they're talking about these things on the bottom right. Those are neighborhood traffic circles. Again, they have a round component, but they do not have that yield on entry, and they're smaller than a typical roundabout. So rather than just being a semantic distinction, this is actually important because some of the slides that I have next talk about specific benefits of roundabouts. And while these other intersections are certainly round and might have some of those benefits as well, I'm really talking about this intersection on the left. So yield control on entry and a very particular size. Next slide, please. So now that we've talked about what a roundabout is and what a roundabout isn't, I want to talk to you a few reasons why roundabouts are a compelling intersection option and why we essentially studied them to consider for the city. So first is, as Albert mentioned, they're a proven safety treatment. And so they actually have a pretty staggering safety record. And I want to explain on this slide what the fundamentals are at play. So on the right side of the slide here, you see a typical perpendicular intersection. You see two of the crash types that most frequently result in fatal or severe injury collisions. That's when people are able to go full speed through an intersection and hit each other at right angles. That's when there's the maximum possible energy transfer and nothing to slow people down. If you take those blue arrows and you compare the top to the bottom, you'll notice that the roundabout actually forces drivers to slow as they enter a curve. And if you compare the purple arrows to the green arrow on the bottom, similarly, drivers are forced to slow through a curve. So a few things. One, drivers are slowed down. And two, they essentially won't hit each other at 90-degree angles. So not only are conflicts happening at a slower speed, but they're also happening with less energy transfer, and they're less likely to result in fatal and severe injuries. So on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about what that's meant from a data perspective. So over about the 20 years that roundabouts have really taken off in the US, where they've replaced other intersection controls, typically two-way stop controls, where the side street has a stop, or signalized intersections, they've actually shown to reduce in the neighborhood of about 80% of fatal and injury crashes. And it's really largely attributed to what I just showed on the previous slide. Drivers are slower and the conflicts are changed. So on the bottom of this slide, we're again showing the 32 possible places where drivers' paths overlap at a typical perpendicular orthogonal intersection. They're really reduced down to essentially 8 locations in a single lane roundabout. And again, those are slower and typically not happening at a 90-degree angle. So less energy transfer, less opportunity for really bad injuries. So that's a bit about safety. I want to talk about a few other benefits of roundabouts. So first is they essentially operate as more resilient infrastructure. So a couple points to make here. One, because they do not require signals, so there's no power draw. One perhaps unexpected benefit of that is that in a power outage situation, they can essentially continue operating as usual. Or, as in the case on this image here, if a signalized intersection has the power go out, in this case in Wilmington, North Carolina, the local sheriff's office essentially set up a roundabout. So you can see the patrol car in the middle there, and they turned a signalized intersection into a roundabout. The second thing here is lower life cycle costs. So that power draw is one piece of it. The cost associated with crashes is another piece of life cycle costs, and then no signals to maintain. So over the lifetime of a treatment, 20, 30 years, they end up costing less. The last thing is reduced congestion and emissions in many cases. So one thing you might notice in this image is it's a pretty big intersection, double left turn lanes, double through lanes, that sort of thing. And there's a single lane roundabout serving in its stead during that emergency outage situation. So in general, you can do a little more with less, where you might need to have like a left turn lane at a signal. You can usually get away with fewer lanes at a roundabout and provide good operations. Couple more items here. Opportunities for aesthetic enhancement. So we've got here Citrus Heights, some palm tree plantings in the middle there. Opportunities for art. That bottom picture is actually in Bend, Oregon. They have like an art tour of roundabouts that the Chamber of Commerce offers. And then the last piece here is that in really funky situations like we're seeing here, they can offer access management benefits. And I think the main thing for you to think about here is, well, if you have a lot of driveways near an intersection, since roundabouts can facilitate U-turns quite easily, they can end up solving some pretty tough problems.
That one's damn confusing right there. Like, I don't even know which way you're supposed to be driving on that one. Out and around and over.
Yeah, so it looks a little confusing when looking at it from a satellite view. Fortunately, as a driver, you don't have to do that. So it's a little less inscrutable when you're in the driver's eye view than the satellite view. So the next slide here, a few words about pedestrians and bicyclists. So a couple of design features. I feel like a broken record at this point, but I think the slow speeds are naturally a benefit. I've been talking about for drivers, but for everyone traveling inside or out of a car, the slow speeds are a safety benefit. They're one of the largest factors associated with driver yielding. Pedestrians typically cross in 2 stages. So you can see there where that little speech bubble is calling out, you cross one direction of traffic, you have a stop, you cross the other direction. And then the bottom speech bubble shows, when you're in the circle, you essentially have space to get out where you don't feel like you're going to get rear-ended, and then you can yield to a pedestrian. For bicyclists, what you're looking at, I would say a couple years ago, is a pretty standard situation for a bicyclist at a roundabout. You either can operate like a vehicle, that purple, where typically the speeds are, say, 20 miles an hour. So confident cyclists can often take the lane, no sweat. The other option is to take that yellow path, which in this particular example is actually a multi-use path. So it'd be a little wider, 10, 12 feet, something like that. You can operate in the lane or get out to a multi-use path. Now designs are being developed where there's separated bike lanes and that sort of thing. A couple things to say about multi-lane roundabouts. So multi-lane roundabouts are going to just be larger, which stands to reason, right? More lanes takes more space, and they're typically going to be more challenging to install in built out areas. So when we talk about what our study and plan did, we looked at locations in the city where to build them. And just one thing to note is that multi-lanes are just really hard to put in already built out areas. They typically are more complex, as with any type of multi-lane intersection, right? More lanes to cross creates more conflict points and greater exposure. But I really want to emphasize that the proper design treatments do exist to make multi-lanes perfectly safe and accessible for all to cross. Okay, so a little bit of education out of the way there. I want to talk about what our study did, and I have a couple slides to illustrate that point. I think you all have had a chance to see the study leading into the presentation here. So what our study did is essentially took 4 steps. So one is we took the entire city, every intersection in the city, and screened them using existing data, land use data, we just talked about how much space they take up, traffic collision data, and many other data that the city provided to screen and say, hey, where are the most feasible and desirable locations for roundabouts? Then we narrowed it down to 50. And that was number 2. We studied the top locations and essentially dropped in a circle to say, could it fit? What would the impacts be? Then we narrowed that down and gathered input from the community and from a technical advisory committee to further develop some concepts. And then we documented our work, took those concepts, and prepared city roundabout guidelines, both for those existing locations and for potential future locations. So on the next slide, I'll talk a little bit more detail about the top locations. So there's a lot going on this slide, but I'll start on the left. I mentioned that we looked at every intersection in the city. At the end of the day, the top 5 feasible roundabout locations were the ones shown here. So number 1 was Old Placerville Road and Rockingham Drive. 2 was Old Placerville Road and Rudier. 3 was Kilgore and Sun Center. 4 was Capitol Center Drive and Disk Drive. 5 was Matherfield Road and Peter McEwen Boulevard. And we developed concept sketches for those 5 locations. So I really want to emphasize here that the concept sketches serve the purpose of asking, what would a roundabout look like at this location? And serve to facilitate community engagement and staff conversations. So it's not like we're walking away with designs that are shovel ready by any means. It's more of, here's what could be done. And on the right, with the scorecards, it's, hey, by the way, here's the safety record. here's the hazard risk, here's whether there's bus stops there, and then here's potential right-of-way impacts, and here's how eligible these would be for grant money. So it's really an opportunity for the city to say, of all the locations that are existing, here's the ones that we could further develop and possibly get some funding for. On the next slide, I want to talk about the community and stakeholder input. So we had a number of public meetings. We also solicited a citywide survey on those concepts, as well as features of roundabouts that people liked or had some concerns about. Had a number of connections, really heard from people that safety is the number one priority. We hear a lot of stories about, oh, those crazy drivers, that sort of thing. So people, no matter how they say it, people are essentially emphasizing safety. And then we also worked closely with a number of TAC members, both technical and advocacy groups. The next slide is going to talk about those guidelines, and then this is pretty much going to wrap it up. So when I mentioned the city guidelines, I've already showed you that we went citywide in the existing built-out roadway network. What we then did is we developed a number of guidelines for planning and design to say, hey, do this, don't do that. Here's the best practices for designing these things. And it essentially provides a blueprint for the city as future development comes in. And you can see that on the red and the blue on the right side of the map there is this is where all the future development is coming in. So we coordinated with city staff and even some of the developers of specific plan areas to say, hey, let's go ahead and consider roundabouts sooner than later so that we can actually coordinate and get some of these things built in the future. So that guidelines really has a lot in there. It has planning and design guidance. It has some steps that the city or any consultants and developers can take to consider roundabouts to improve safety and all the other things I mentioned. And with that, I want to talk about what's next. So this will be a little bit repetitive from before. So first, we're presenting here to incorporate council feedback, all of your comments tonight and moving forward, and then adopt the plan. After that, the city really has those 5 concepts with which to do, frankly, whatever is best advised. So that's develop them, continue to listen to community input, look for grant funding if they seem viable. As I mentioned, continue to engage the community. And then lastly, evaluate funding and use the guidelines to go lock down future opportunities where roundabouts could make a lot of sense, where they aren't already built out and constrained. So that concludes the slides. With that, I think I'll turn it back to Christine and we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. So as Mike mentioned, this is a plan with preliminary concepts and a roadmap for potential roundabout locations. So we're here tonight to receive city council and community input, which we'll incorporate into the plan and then bring back for final review and approval. So with that, I'll turn that over to council and the community for any questions.
All right, can we go ahead and have public comment?
Yes, we'll start with Speaker Jim Garcia. Following Jim will be David Crozier. You'll have up to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Jim Garcia, Lincoln Village. Wow, what a presentation. I've been to Bend, Oregon. I've seen that roundabout. A little confusing at first, but overall, roundabouts are beautiful and they work for a specific intersection. The one being considered right now for Routier Road and Old Placerville Road will make Bradshaw Road a bigger raceway than it currently is all the way up to Rockingham. Right now, there's a stoplight where people actually stop at Routier and Old Placerville Road. However, when you remove that stoplight, it gives people license to speed up, to go continuous from Rockingham all the way to Old Placerville Road. And that's going to have a tremendous impact on residents in Lincoln Village on coming out of Astral Drive, out of Palm Grove Drive, and also on Happy Lane. There's also a major manufacturing complex right there with Clayton Homes. You'll hear from that speaker in a minute. However, again, it's detrimental to even consider this to make it a bigger raceway for people. Right now, there's a slight pause that people can throughout the day. So it's not a peak period process. So it's throughout the day that people trying to get out of the neighborhood have to hesitate because they're speeding vehicles. But when there's a stoplight out there kind of slowing things down a little bit, it gives a pause that people can actually enter Old Placerville Road safely. But removing that stoplight is going to make it a real nightmare for people. Another one you ought to be considering is Routier and Rockingham. It's going to become a launching pad for some people going south on Rockingham, on Routier from the overpass over 50. Right now, there's a stop sign at Rockingham and Routier. However, people speed through there all the time. And now by putting a roundabout right there, I can almost guarantee it. You can put a camera right there and watch people actually be perched on that roundabout. They've done it, and you can talk to Edgar, you can talk to the police department on how many people have wedged themselves on that new bicycle path right there at Routier on the overpass, physically kind of cramming their vehicles into the bicycle path, both north and southbound. I've seen 3 of them personally, but check with the police department. But now you're going to have this nightmare also on, again, Old Placerville Road, that you'll have a heck of a lot more accidents with people not slowing down at the 45-mile speed limit to allow people to kind of traverse safely on that road. Anyway, take another look at it, but I strongly recommend not putting it in that neighborhood. We didn't ask for it, and I don't think we need it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone?
David Crozier?
Thank you very much. My name's Dave Crozier. I'm the Assistant Production Manager at Clayton Homes of Sacramento, located at 998 Old Placerville Road. Just here because the idea of a roundabout could be pretty detrimental to our business. We produce about 500 manufactured homes every year. We ship out of that facility between 4 to 5 floors that can range up to 66 feet plus in length. A lot of times there are pilot cars that go with it. We already have a difficult enough time getting onto Old Placerville Road due to the fact that there's really no break except for that stoplight on Routier. We do have pilots that do take a lot of the homes down to Routier and then up. A roundabout on that would be a little bit harder to maneuver for them based on they would be cutting into the second lane as they actually do the roundabout to come all the way back around. Typically, roundabouts, they're great ideas. I think that in a 4-way intersection, awesome. That is not a 4-way intersection, never will be. Mather Field property line is right there at that intersection. You have a small mobile home park and a small cul-de-sac just prior to that. There's not a lot of, then you have commercial buildings on the northeast side. You have an empty field and you have fields beside us. There really isn't a lot of public traffic as far as people walking, bicycling, so forth in that area. I think that since I've been at the facility, just in the past 2 months, we had 2 accidents with ambulances and people taken to the hospital that occurred as our employees are trying to leave and trying to get onto Old Placerville Road from the facility. We have close to 200 plus individuals that work there. And Happy Lane does not have a light. We've seen multiple accidents and a fatality that actually hit a big pine tree on our property in that area. So for us, it just seems as though it's not the right location. Not to say that roundabouts aren't a good thing, but for that particular location, a heavier traffic of public, pedestrian, and 4-way intersection seems like a smarter choice. But for us, it'd be quite a detriment. Right? So we just hope that you consider that when we look at it. Again, we've been in that facility for a long time as Carson Homes, now as Clayton Homes. We're one of the largest manufactured home builders in the country, and we bring a lot of probably tax revenues into the area, and we would like to just make sure that we are heard. All right.
So you'd be willing to accept an annexation into our city?
I'm sorry?
Would you be willing to accept an annexation into our city? Because you're not part of Rancho
We're
yet.
across the street, but.
We're across the street?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So we're gonna need you to go ahead and sign paperwork saying. Adam,
Is
could you
he our
give
last,
us the-
hang on, Garrett, is he our last commenter?
No.
Okay. Don't go anywhere, I have some questions for you.
Okay, yeah, no
Thanks.
problem. All right.
I need to acknowledge an emailed public comment by Jim Garcia. That was the additional public comment that we have. I'm looking at Zoom and I am looking at telephone, and we do not have any hands that are raised.
All right,
Can
go ahead,
we-
Donald.
Can we bring back up the map with the 5 dots on it? And can you come back up here? Okay. Because I've toured your facility when it was Karsten.
Okay.
And I worked for a nonprofit where we sold Clayton homes for a long time too. So when I toured, I thought that, and having lived in Lincoln Village, as many times as I saw homes going to the right down Old Placerville, I saw them going left out and towards Bradshaw.
We have probably 50%.
And you're saying that you're taking those houses down Old Placerville, turning left on Routier and going up and over to Folsom Boulevard to come back out onto 50?
Now, it all is based off the pilots and based off of where they have permitting sometimes, okay?
Because you also need
I
a
don't-
highway patrol to go with you every time, right? When you leave, or
Not every
used to.
time. It
Okay.
depends on the size of the house. I mean,
Okay.
we have nothing that goes over 15 foot in height, so we're not, and our widths, we can do wide loads, but as long as we stay within certain restrictions for height and width,
Okay.
you don't need a police escort,
Okay.
based off of the roads where they currently are.
Okay.
So-
Because
so once
looking
we-
at 2, I get your concern.
Yeah.
Of number, well, can we make that? I guess we can't make it any bigger. I get your concern right out of your door is 2. I would never in a million years have thought that anyone would take a trailer and a truck up Routier and over the highway and back over to Folsom Boulevard and cross train tracks and a whole bunch of other things. The extra headache that you're giving yourself by utilizing Routier, and it's a reason, frankly, that the member of the public commented about all of the bollards and the extra curbs and stuff that we put there. As the person who's the school board member for that area and lived in those neighborhoods, that was a drag race it was a highway basically we built in the middle of town
Right.
that we purposely made smaller that should ward you off like garlic to a vampire, to not go down that part of the street. So to me, the number 1 here shouldn't be affecting you. Number 2, I get, and I don't think that's a good spot to be trying this anyways. And number 5 probably too would cause quite a bit of headache for you too. But the one at Routier, the one at what is it? Is it number 1? Old Placerville and Rockingham,
Yeah.
you would just be turning right and going over to Mather and then turning left. That should, I mean, you'd be able to navigate those, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
so.
I mean, the ones
so-
where you actually got to go back around and make a left turn or something, I get how that
So
would
we-
be tough
so
for you.
Just for clarification, we don't ship the homes. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
the retailers that purchase the homes are the ones that hire an outside contractor to come pick the homes up. So once we manufacture the homes, we have our holding yard. At that point, they belong to the dealer. So they send their own shippers in, they hook up their routes and their choice. We have no say really in how, where, as far as how they want to travel.
Okay.
Okay, so I just know that based off of what I see in the mornings when I'm there, because we have trucks that are show up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to pick up houses. That depending on the time, they go certain directions just because of the traffic. Okay, so just because there's less traffic, they're going to take the path of least resistance.
Yeah, I mean, to me, especially if it's in the morning,
Yeah.
Routier, if you look at, there's a high school on one side, there's a park on the other side with another elementary school not too far from there, and another elementary school on the other side. And literally, we've redesigned Routier for you and nobody else to want to be going there, especially in the morning. So the further up Routier at Old Placerville, I can't imagine that would be affecting any of you. But if you're doing it, you're just going around and going straight. Or you're making a right turn on Old Placerville, which neither of those should really be
Well, we can't make
a detriment for you,
Well, either
for
one of
them.
them, we can't make a immediate turn. They have to stop. So a lot of times they actually cross the street, back up, and then go left or right, just because they can't swing out of our parking lot. So depending on the size house.
Right, so I get it. Number 2 would make problems for you, which
Yes.
is, that's
Number
the
two-
one that's at
number
Route
two-
here.
Number 2 would make problems, yes.
Right. But number 1
No,
wouldn't at Old Placerville, trying to get to Mather.
trying to get to Mather now.
Okay. So I would just, staff, take that into consideration and maybe even, offering up some context for your pilots or whoever is driving these to talk with staff to see how those might affect them. But in general, I mean, even like, and I get it if anybody was going up Routier, but I can't imagine anybody wanting to go up Routier. What I would say, and I'd be happy to work with the county on this and get our staff involved, I agree with you, there should be a light at Happy Lane though, too. Yeah. And that would probably make your life a lot easier because you could come out of your parking lot onto Happy Lane and make a signalized left out of your space and not have to worry about going all the way back into the city and make a right turn on Bradshaw. Great idea. Done.
Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, what I've experienced thus far is Happy Lane creates an issue, even with the light down at Routier. That stops traffic going westbound. But once there's an opening, people just are peeling right off of Happy Lane without even stopping.
Yeah.
And people are trying to pull out, and that's where most of the accidents have occurred, because people pull out and they just get on the gas.
The stories I could tell you about in front of your building and in the neighborhood right there, if you look along Lincoln Village and some of the other ones, some of the dead ends for Astral and some other ones that run straight into houses, and we've had cars running straight into houses, blocks from where your place is. The traffic design in that neighborhood, which was all done by the county, I don't know what moron put it together, but if there are ways that we could address it. But I agree with you that probably number 2 is not a great option. But I don't think 1 is going to affect your folks very much at all. And the other ones, they have nothing to do with it. But I appreciate you coming, and I would love for our staff to get your contact info and maybe even working with, who's the supervisor there? Is that Pat?
That's Pat.
Talk to Pat about if there's a way that we could work towards a grant to get a signal at Happy Lane, because it needs one, and it would make his life and his company's life a lot easier.
And they wouldn't have to take big,
because
houses
ideally
through our community.
you would want to go to Bradshaw every time
Yeah.
if you had a light there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And having lived there and been there, there's no reason we don't. There's all the reason in the world to get people to slow down in between that Routier and Bradshaw in general.
We just removed the large pine trees at the corner of Happy, just to get better visibility of people coming from Happy.
Yeah, we have a whole hedge
Yeah.
frontage road right in front of that. So hopefully staff can work with you on that. But I appreciate your comments and coming tonight.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much.
for coming.
Those are all my comments. The rest of them I think we should be studying. I think 2 is one to probably put on the back burner for now and don't, at least, and from my perspective, this is a feasibility study of possible sites. We're not zoning anything or building anything tomorrow unless we get some federal grants or other things to help us do some of these places. But I think to me, I would say don't pursue number 2. The other ones are fine.
Linda?
Yeah. So this is a classic example of why you should not make assumptions. I am a huge supporter of roundabouts. I grew up with them in the time we spent in England. There were roundabouts in Massachusetts. Even my civil engineer husband thought the one that we encountered in the middle of nowhere, France, was a great idea for moving people. Nobody had to stop. They just kept going. But I have absolutely no clue why everything that's recommended is a retrofit in a commercial or industrial location. To me, this makes no sense whatsoever. And I didn't read this until today, Albert, I thank your staff for making me a copy. And as I flipped through it, I do see that back here on page 103 of 374, when people were asked to come up with the locations, when the workshop participants were asked to come up with locations that they thought were a good idea, all their locations were residential. So as I was thinking about this last night in the middle of the night, what did I personally think should go into a decision of how to determine an appropriate location to install a roundabout? It occurred to me that, number one, there obviously cannot be, as just this past discussion has just outlined, there can't be any large vehicles that do this because of the difficulty of moving through the roundabout. It's illogical to try to cram it into an intersection that, while technically it may meet those little lines that somebody drew, really isn't large enough to make this a successful installation. Around here, the best experience with roundabouts is Elk Grove Boulevard in Elk Grove. And they specifically designed these as they built out between Bradshaw and Elk Grove Florin, so that there were open spaces, there's parks. As a matter of fact, we have family who lives in the next block from one of those little parks and has had birthday parties there. But they're specifically designed to fit the location, to move traffic in areas. Obviously, you're balancing not too much traffic with the right amount of traffic. And I am very much aware that you've got definitions that go with collectors and arterials and local streets and all that, you know that. But it struck me that, well, I assumed there would be something, because you've been talking about Coloma Road. So here again, you should never assume. So I assumed somebody would be looking at north of the highway, north of Folsom Boulevard. And when I thought about it, it struck me that the only real street where you could improve the traffic flow would be Zinfandel, because it's just got enough traffic that is problematic at times, but it doesn't have so much traffic that it would completely bog down the intersection. If I am looking at properties east of Sunrise, the first one that I thought of is Chrysanthi. It's going to be a major connector, but it's not going to be 6 lanes. And the majority of it is, while it's designed and built out, on the other hand, because I actually drove it to Grant Line that day we were looking for whatever it was. And but there's still opportunity to create those open spaces around the roundabout itself that make it residentially friendly, that make it pedestrian and bicycle friendly. I personally do not support any one of the 5 locations. And I've thought about the characteristics of each. I can't see any reason that we would put one at Capitol Center and Disk, or at Kilgore and Sun Center. And I drive Kilgore because I will not drive Sunrise. So I'm on Kilgore all the time. Matherfield Road and Peter McEwen. Look at the predominant number of people who drive through there. They're the veterans or older people who would have trouble adjusting to a reconfigured intersection. And I personally, it seems like it would be totally confusing to the majority of the people who are using that intersection. The other 2 I mentioned are a total waste of time or waste of money. Old Placerville has been pointed out. There's no 4-way intersections. It's all T intersections. And there's too much potential for existing large vehicle traffic and future large vehicle traffic because of its connection out to Bradshaw. So I'm sorry, I'm disappointed. I really would have thought that we were establishing principles that could be implemented successfully in our new growth areas.
All right. Sounds like you got some opportunity for some corrections and some good guidance. And I think that's it. Are you good, Albert?
I really appreciate the input and feedback, so we can go back and reevaluate it based on those comments and input. We have, look, I definitely agree with you, Councilmember Budge, that the greatest opportunity here is where we haven't built out these streets yet. Retrofitting, we've already identified as such an incredible challenge. And the study does include guidelines that will help us to evaluate. And as we're looking to, some of the existing roads, such as Chrysanthi, have been mapped out already. So the lot lines are there. And so even though it's not built today, the mapping is there, and it is challenging and affects some of the lots as we try to fit them in those locations. But there are certainly future specific plans. We'll take your words to heart, and we're already having conversations with some of the developers in those locations. So I really appreciate that feedback.
I thought about it with the map that we adopted earlier tonight, but I didn't want to necessarily pull that map in case it really wasn't applicable there. But yeah.
Certainly future future specific plans, that'll be a high priority to identify locations for roundabouts that fit well with the communities in those locations. As Christine and Mike had laid out, this is conceptual only. Certainly we'll go back and revise this and bring it back. It'll still be in concept only, with huge opportunity for whatever locations are identified to obtain. If a location moves forward further after this plan, it would involve a huge amount of stakeholder input, engineering, making sure that all stakeholders still have the access that they need and in a safe way.
As I flipped through this, and I flipped through almost all the way to the end, it struck me that the majority of photographic examples that are used in this booklet are all residential areas. There's one or two commercial areas, but the majority of them are all residential areas. And if you look at a street like Zinfandel, north of the freeway, where we know Caltrans has given us a commute hour problem, then the ability to, you do a lot to try to slow down the traffic or to make it less than hospitable for commuters. And if you put in a couple of roundabouts at select locations, if that were possible, then ultimately maybe people would stop using Zinfandel and they'd go out and brave Sunrise like everybody else who needs to go north across the river. I think it seems like there are a lot of goals that could be addressed with a strategically located roundabout project.
Those are certainly some of the roadways that would greatly benefit from a treatment like this. One of the challenges that we've identified when we're looking at roundabouts specifically is it can be extremely challenging to locate them where you have homes, for instance, in a residential that come up to the corners there. Fitting in a traditional roundabout can be very challenging. However, traffic circles can be options in some locations. So I really appreciate the input, and we'll take that back and we'll take another crack at this.
Well, and we all appreciate the difficulty because we don't want a controversy the way the city of Sacramento created when they stuck in little things in the middle and redirected traffic in some of their streets out closer to Highway 99. So we understand the difficulty.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We'll look forward to seeing the roundabout in Coloma as soon as possible. All right, moving on. City Clerk, will you read the subject of 12.3?
A resolution approving an incentive payment for 2023 performance and a salary increase for Micah Runner for service as city manager and adjusting the full-time employee salary schedule for the position of city manager.
Excellent. Adam?
Thank you, Council. As the agenda report notes, this is an item on which state law does require that a brief oral report and summary be given to the council in open session before taking any action on this. This item would authorize the payment of a 5% or $13,250 performance incentive payment to the city manager based upon his 2023 performance that the city council has previously made a determination was impressive, and based upon a set of criteria and topics that council had previously identified for him that related to that performance. I would also increase his annual salary by $20,000 to $285,000. And that would be reflected in and would also be updated in the full-time employee salary schedule for the position of city manager. The fiscal impact for this change is noted in the staff report and would be approximately the amounts I've just noted plus a couple, plus approximately $4,000 for certain benefits that are tied to the amount of the city manager's compensation. And again, these are consistent with and allowed by the terms of his performance, rather his current city manager contract, and don't require any amendments to this. And it does again follow a positive performance evaluation for him that was concluded at the end of last year. With that, I would ask for council comments and then a motion on the resolution.
Excellent, thank you. We're gonna go ahead and take public comment. Stacy?
I do not have any speaker cards. I do have 2 emailed public comments. The first came from Brenda Gustin. The second came from Mark Berry. Those have been distributed to the city council, placed on the city's website, and has been printed in a binder in the back of the council chambers. I do see one hand that is raised by Val. So Val, if you're there, you'll have up to 3 minutes to speak.
This may be out of protocol, but I wanted to comment on the previous agenda item. I had a hard time getting into Zoom tonight. Can I do that or?
On the roundabouts?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry for that inconvenience. Go ahead.
Yeah, in light of the 2 accidents on Zinfandel at November 22nd and January 11th, I don't know if the January 11th was a fatality, but the November 22nd was. I have been fighting for a roundabout at Zinfandel and North Baroque and not Baroque and North Mather. It was told to me a while back, I've been fighting for this for a while, and it was told to me a while back that they couldn't put one there because you need an acre to do a roundabout. Also, there's too many lanes. While reading the packet, I saw the 6-lane roadway on, I can't tell the page number, it says 59 of the roundabout feasibility study. There's a little highlighted area in pink. It says the city is not pursuing roundabouts on a 6-lane roadway due to the high cost of retrofitting those locations. However, a planned 6-way roadway could be accommodated with a 2-lane roundabout becoming a 4-lane roadway instead. That sounds like a good idea to me, and I think we should push up a location to be Zinfandel and North Mather and Baroque because of the catastrophes we've had. We've had many, but those are the 2 recent ones that I mentioned. And I know you have the police out there because I've seen 2 in the last 2 days pulling people over for speeding. And that's my reason, is to slow that traffic down. And I heard Linda say that we want to slow the traffic down. they're using this road because the lights are faster. But that most recent one in November was awful. And I wasn't here. I was on my way back from my 3-month trip. That's why I wanted to know. I have 2 questions. Because I was out of town, I wasn't able to go to the roundabout sessions and voice my opinion. Are they, putting it on the table again? Are we gonna be invited, the residents gonna be invited back in to make more comments or ideas, bring up ideas? And, or how can I give that information to that group that's doing that study?
I think the answer is that they just got it.
Yeah.
Seriously, Valerie, this is, the direction tonight was to take all the comments under consideration and return to the city council at a later date.
Okay.
Yep. So there'll be other opportunities to discuss this. This was just the first of many conversations, and I mean, until there's money falling from the heaven of the federal government, probably,
right,
we're not building any of these.
Right,
so,
right.
So plenty of time to continue to discuss.
Yeah.
Yep.
So are they gonna open it back up since they've already completed the study? Are they gonna open it back up for more information or more input?
Well, they have
someday, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yep,
Okay,
100%.
All right.
All right.
I have no qualms with 12.3.
Thank you very
Good.
much. Stacy, anything else?
There's no additional public comment for item 12.3.
Council, do you have any questions?
Move approval.
And I would just say, thank you, city manager, for making sure that we did this by the letter of the law.
Yeah.
Unlike maybe some of our friends to the west. Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Budge?
Yes.
Councilmember Terry?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pulapati is absent. Mayor Sander is absent. Councilmember Gatewood?
Yes.
The motion passes.
No close session.
3-0.
That's it. All right. Do we have any future agenda items? Meeting adjourned.